Alright, so this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while. This is how to ride a motorcycle, or well, more specifically, how to ride a smaller cc motorcycle. I think there's a little bit of a different technique that applies for smaller cc motorcycles, meaning your 300s and down, your 160s, your 150s, maybe even your 125s, that I feel like a lot of people on YouTube don't necessarily speak about. Alright, so first thing before you even mount your motorcycle, let's speak about some of the controls that you have to know. So first thing, your brakes. Before we learn how to move, we have to learn how to stop. Up here, at this lever is your front brake. This is where 70% of your braking power comes from. And at your foot control here, this lever here, this is your rear brake. This is where the remaining 30% of your braking power comes from. And that's on the right side of your motorcycle. On the left side of your motorcycle now, this is shifting gears and your clutch. So a lot of people think that this is another brake, but this is actually your clutch. So this is your clutch, and down here is your shift level. So this is a sequential gearbox. On motorcycles, most motorcycles have sequential gearboxes. So that what that means is one gear comes after the other. So down one is first gear, up two is second gear, and then up third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and in between first and second is neutral. So we'll speak more about the gearbox when we get into the shifting gears aspect of this video, but we're going to move up to our handlebars, the controls that are on our handlebars. So in the middle of the bike is usually the ignition. This is where locking your handlebars and just turning the ignition on and off comes from. On the left side of your motorcycle, you often have your horn, your indicator, and your light controls, your headlight controls. So it might differ depending on the motorcycle that you're riding. Some might have the indicator here, but generally the indicator has these symbols on them where you can turn left to turn on your left, right to turn on your right, and press it in to cancel it. Your horn button, you press your horn button, and your high beam, low beam is here. A lot of motorcycles actually have their low beam on at all times by default, and this just toggles the high beam or the passing light. On the right side of your motorcycle now, you have your ignition, your starter buttons, where you have your kill switch, where you have to flip it down to engage the engine and up to kill the engine, where it's usually a red switch on most motorcycles. Here I have hazard lights on mine as well, and then the button to start the engine. Okay, so that's the explanation of your controls and what they do. I'm going to switch over to the GoPro camera now, and we'll discuss how we mount, get the bike started, and start rolling. Alright, so now that we've got a brief idea of what our controls are, we talk about mounting the motorcycle now. So the kickstand is to the left. That's what this is down here. You always mount the motorcycle from the left side of the bike, because on the right side you have your exhaust, and the bike leans to the left, so on the left side it's the lower side to mount. So you put one hand on your handlebar here and you swing your right foot over the bike, and you're sitting on the motorcycle now. Some people may not be as tall as I am, but generally on lower cc bikes the seat height tends to be a little bit lower, so I can flat foot both my feet on the ground and hold the motorcycle in between my legs. For your first bike, you should probably get a bike that you're able to do that if you're a shorter rider. So now that we've mounted the motorcycle and we're sitting comfortably on the motorcycle and we're confident we have it off the kickstand, we've pushed it up so it's up right now, you take your left foot and you kick out the kickstand. Now before we even get into starting and moving around the motorcycle, we should get used to the weight of the motorcycle. So sit on it and lean it a little bit left, a little bit right, roll it forward with your legs, roll it backwards, get a rough idea of the weight and the feel of the motorcycle. And then once you're confident with how you are on your motorcycle, you have the key here for this demonstration, I'll take it out to the ignition. You put the key in the ignition and you turn it to the right. That's where you see your dash come on. Before you even start the bike, you have to look at your dash and make sure that there's a little green light. Some bikes may not have gear indicators like mine does, but you should try to see for that green light. If that green light isn't there, that means your bike isn't in neutral. If your bike is not in neutral, it's a little bit more risky to start it, because you can have runaway motorcycles. So when you're starting your bike, especially for the first time, you should always ensure that it's in neutral. If it's not in neutral, it may be in first or second gear, which is a half click down from second and a half click up from first. So to demonstrate that, okay, there we go. So now we're in first gear. I'll put my foot under the lever, and it's a half click up from first will put me into neutral. When you've achieved and you're confident that your bike is in neutral, you flip your kill switch. If your bike is fuel injected, you'll hear the whine of the motor or the whine of the fuel injection priming, and then you pull in your clutch all the way, not halfway like a brake, but all the way to the handlebar, and then you press the starter button, and now the bike is started. Now I can let out the clutch slowly. Always let out your clutch slowly, because you want to develop the habit of letting your clutch out slowly. It makes it easier for when you're actually starting to get into moving the motorcycle. So you let your clutch out slowly, and now your bike is started and you're in neutral. Now before you get moving, I'd advise that you get used to the feel of the brakes. Squeeze them a little bit, put your right foot on the lever, and have a feel for where the brakes are and how stiff they are. Now we're going to talk about putting it into gear and getting rolling. This is the most difficult part of learning how to ride a motorcycle, getting used to the clutch and the feel for the clutch, along with shifting gears. Okay, so now that you've mounted your motorcycle and started your motorcycle, it's time to get riding. So to do that, the first thing that we have to do always is pull in your clutch all the way. Make sure that your kickstand is up and have both your hands on the handlebars like this, right? Now you have to click your bike into first gear. Now that your bike is in first gear, if you have a gear indicator, it will let you know. If not, it's just one click down from neutral. So generally, the first thing you have to do is feel for the friction zone. That's the first thing that you have to do. The friction zone is basically when the bike will start giving power to the back wheel. So you slowly, and I have to emphasize, very slowly, let out your clutch until you start hearing a winding sound from your motorcycle, and I will do it to demonstrate. You can hear that, and as you can see, my motorcycle has started rolling slowly forward. This is not me giving it any gas. This is just me holding right there at the friction zone, and the motorcycle is moving itself. Now I'll pull back in the clutch and the motorcycle has stopped moving. Now it's important to note that on lower cc motorcycles, and depending on the weight, on your body weight as a rider, the friction zone in first gear may not be enough to get the motorcycle rolling. So if you're on your lower cc motorcycles like your 125s and your 160s, you may need to give it a little throttle in order to assist the motorcycle in moving and rolling forward to get it started. So to demonstrate that, you might want to get your motorcycle up to about 2000 RPMs. So literally cracking the throttle like a little like that would be enough to add a little bit more power to get your motorcycle rolling. So I'll demonstrate that as well. So there again, I am just in the friction zone, and I'm holding the power, or I'm holding the revs right at about 2000 RPM. Alright, so now that you've got your motorcycle rolling, slowly let your clutch out from the friction zone. So let it out slowly, slowly, and you'll feel your motorcycle increase in speed. And now I fully let go of the clutch, and the motorcycle is moving on its own. I'm not giving it any throttle, and the motorcycle is just rolling. Now it's important to get used to the feeling of your motorcycle just rolling. go into an empty parking lot, go do some turns, turn the motorcycle around, go left to right, just get used to the feeling of the motorcycle moving beneath you. Another exercise that you can do to get used to the friction zone is starting and stopping. So you'll start, let out the clutch, you'll go, you'll get your feet off the ground, and you'll roll with the motorcycle, and you pull your clutch all the way back in to stop. You stop, you let your clutch all the way out, and you go again. Starting and stopping tends to be the most difficult part for beginners to get, because they need to get you guys need to get a feel for the clutch. It's important to find an empty and open place where there aren't many obstacles that is possible for you to hit. So in an open parking lot, on an empty street like how I am on a closed empty street, and just ride around and get a feel for your motorcycle. Once you become more confident, you can start giving it a little bit more throttle, go a little faster, turn a little sharper, and just slowly get used to your motorcycle moving. It's important to go at your own pace, because some people may learn a little bit quicker than others. Alright, so now that you're confident with giving throttle, going a little bit quicker, and you feel like you're ready to start shifting gears, again, it's very similar to how you may in a manual transmission car. You have your throttle, you have your clutch, and you have your shifter. So once you've achieved a speed, and you'll hear your motorcycle tell you what speed this is, that you want to shift gears, that it would want to shift gears, because you will hear the revs go up and you'll hear the motorcycle begging for another gear. So once you move up to maybe in the middle of your RPM range, you pull your clutch in, kick your shifter up, and now you're in second gear. And it's rinse and repeat for third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Your motorcycle may not have 6 gears. Your motorcycle may be a 5-speed transmission or a 4-speed transmission. But you would have achieved the most difficult part of motorcycle riding once you've already had your motorcycle moving. Alright, thanks for watching my tutorial on how to ride a lower cc motorcycle. I hope you found these tips helpful. If there's anything you feel like I have left out, please do leave it in the comments so others can benefit from your experiences and opinions. And ride safe, always wear your helmet, always wear your gear, and thank you.